to cover themselves, right? To cover themselves with hijab, to cover themselves, cover their awrah. And third thing, there's a third concept in these ayat, and to protect their chastity. So there are three components of the interaction between a man and a woman. The first component is to restrict your interaction with them to a spiritual one, or to not as a physical one, but as one that is beyond physical realities. Okay? So to lower your sight, you're declaring that my relationship with you is not a physical one. That's number one. Number two is to guard their chastity. So when we talk about the concept of hijab, it's not one that is just a piece of cloth on your head. The concept of hijab is always mentioned in the Quran in concurrence with the concept of how we should interact behaviorally as well. So when we make that decision of wearing that piece of cloth or wearing that clothing and covering ourselves externally, we also make the decision that inshallah when I meet a young brother or a young sister, I will lower my sight and I'll behave with them in a very professional manner. So the premise of the Islamic interaction is one of professionalism. It's not like, we get together and we say, hey, how was your day? How was your night? Right? And then we start getting to know about very private things about one another. Islam lays down the principle that number one, you restrict your interaction with the opposite gender. Number two, you cover yourself externally in order to preserve your internal nature. And number three, to be conscious and cognizant of what you're thinking internally when you're interacting. So that's the premise of the Islamic interaction between a man and a woman. And so when we talk about why when we go to the Musalla, for example, why do these Islamics, right? Why do they put a little wall between the men and the women, man? Don't tell me you don't have some sexual tension when a woman's in the room, right, brother? Right? When a woman's in the room, you're always thinking, is she looking at me? Yeah. Did you see my Abercrombie and Fitch, right? I like girls that wear. Oh no, man, I'm not going there anymore. As you can see, I had quite some issues, right? So subhanallah. Whenever you walk into the room, there's a beautiful girl, there's a handsome young man, of course you're thinking, is he looking at me? Yeah, he's looking at me, right? That tension is always there and you can't deny it, it's a reality. So when Islam lays down the principle that limit your interaction with the opposite gender, why? Because I know, as your Lord, that you have those feelings within you. And the further you facilitate those feelings, and the more you expose yourself to the opposite gender, and the more you interact with the opposite gender, the more those feelings are strengthened. So that's the reality. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He lays down the principles of zina, He doesn't say do not commit fornication, do not commit zina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says la taqrabu zina, do not come near fornication. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lays down these principles of how we interact with one another, it is because He is seeking to preserve the human dignity, to raise us above the level of animals. Animals, they get together, man, they procreate, and that's it, they're done. The homeboy, he disappears. Watch Meerkat Manor, right? Meerkat Manor on Discovery Channel, right? You have this, the man is trying to protect his stock, right? And then you have all these other men like, yeah, I'm going to sneak in and I'm going to sleep with his women, right? And then I'm going to leave my seed in there, and then I'm going to take over the kingdom later. That's crazy, man. We're like, man, this is crazy. We as human beings, we should be elevated above this type of behavior. But what do we see? We're acting in the same way. So what makes us so human is the fact that we can ennoble our internal characteristics and protect ourselves from external characteristics. Okay, external facilitations of love or expressions of love. Now that leads me to the next thing, inshallah, and I'll conclude with this, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I'm sorry if it seems a little bit fragmented, but I'm trying to piece it all together, inshallah. So I'm always reviewing what I said before so that it can make sense when I go on to the next topic, next concept. The next concept is, what is the concept of love in Islam? It is often expressed, or it is often displayed, that Islam completely abandons this concept of love. Right? There's no such thing as love in Islam. I selected your wife when you were 2 years old. Right? I don't care if you have any feelings for her. Make feelings for her, man. Right? Islam doesn't have this concept. And when we say like, yeah, my marriage was arranged, like, oh my God, no. Were you like, married when you were 3? No, I didn't even know it. She wasn't even born when I was 3, right? No, that's when we think about the concept of a quote-unquote arranged marriage, that's what people get the perspective of. But in Islam, the concept of arranged marriage is not in that sense. The concept of arranged marriage is that, listen, I have feelings. I go to class. Don't deny the fact that you have feelings for some girl right now or some brother right now in your biology class 101 talking about procreation and stuff, right? Of course you're like, man, it would be nice to have a wife, So Aisha, right? Don't deny the fact that this is a reality within us. And Islam, if any religion that comes down and says, you know what, man, I know you got feelings. I know you have this desire for a woman or this desire for a man. But you know what? Forget about it. Islam came down to protect family. And it came down to allow us to express this deep emotion within the boundaries that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala realizes that He's the one who created us. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ. I created human beings. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're feeling, you young brother, 30 years old. You can't get married because you're not a doctor, Saab. I know what you're feeling. Young sister who can't get married because that homeboy ditched you 2 years after marrying you. No one's ever going to marry you again. Allah knows what you're feeling. It's a reality. Whenever you go through any struggle, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows exactly what you're feeling. And He allows you to go through that because He knows you have the capability of handling. Because Allah does not test someone more than they can handle. Allah knows we have emotions and love and attraction within our hearts. He knows and He recognizes it. But He says, listen, if you seek to express that emotion outside of these boundaries, I'm telling you, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. But if you stay within these boundaries, you stay within these principles, not only will you save yourself from pain, but you'll find true peace and happiness in this world and the next. So Islam seeks to express this emotion of love within the boundaries of marriage. And so when we talk about the concept of arranged marriage, it's that I have feelings for this girl. Instead of trying to mac on her and take her out to all sorts of restaurants and such, who knows where that's going to lead thereafter? You know what? I love this girl so much, I'm going to show you what kind of man I am. I love this girl so much, I'm going to go directly to her family. I'm going to go to her parents. I'm going to say, I love your girl. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Right? It's not going to work. Right? But if you truly love this person, from the beginning you'll be willing to commit to that person. From the beginning, you'll be willing to commit to that person. And that's what Islam seeks to teach humanity. That love, true love, is symbolized in your commitment for that person. You're not going to try it out for 2 years. Let's see if we like the same music. Let's see if we like the same bars and clubs. Yeah, we do. Okay, good. All right. Now, next step. Let's see if we can live together. Let's see if we tear each other's eyeballs out. Right? No. Okay, we can live together. Very nice. Okay. 10 years later, I can commit to her. I think I love her. Islam says no. From the first day, if you love this girl, you love this brother, you commit from the beginning. And you're going to work your utmost and you're going to strive your hardest to make that commitment. Stick to that commitment. And that's why marriage is such a profound principle, profound institution in our religion. That if you care about one another, you'll be willing to work through thick and thin for one another. Why? Because you love that person. How do you know you love that person? You said it. You said it on that marriage. On the day of your marriage, you said, I will do anything and everything to protect this girl. Please, allow me that opportunity. And then parents, they say, I know and I trust that you will protect my daughter. I know and I trust that you guys preserve each other's religion, preserve each other's faith and spirituality and life, and you'll raise children based on these values and traditions that we taught you. So Islam teaches us that we have this concept of love and emotion within ourselves, but we must keep it maintained, contained and restricted and disciplined within the boundaries of marriage. Why? Because Allah is our creator. He knows everything about us. We're such short-sighted people. We don't know anything. We don't know what's going to happen to us 2 days from now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything about us. He's the one who created us. And He knows that if you do this, you will be happy. But if you don't, you won't be happy. And I'm telling you, I'll conclude with this, inshallah. There are many sisters, in particular, who are struggling from this. Because brothers are taking advantage of it. There are so many, we did Love Struck, as the brother mentioned, I think. We did Love Struck here at Benedictine University about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, right? Talking about the concept of love in Islam more deeply, right? And I've had the opportunity to do that lecture, that seminar, in different parts of the country. And almost every time there are sisters who come and say, I love this man, this boy, but he's making me do this. Sexual activity. I don't like doing it, but I love him and I don't want to lose him. And I fear that if I tell him no, he's going to leave me. What kind of love is that? That's the kind of love that you want? This brother taking advantage of you? Sleep with you all he wants. Then when the time comes for marriage, who's going to be the one who's going to be able to get married? He's going to teach you no problem. There's so many brothers like that I've met. Macking with girls on the side. When it comes time for marriage, sorry, my parents, you're not the type of girl for my parents. Who's the one who's taking advantage of there? Who's the one who loses? Our young sisters. Brothers, I'm going to have a conversation with you another time. But my young sisters, inshallah, remember that the reason why we become dependent on one another, or we become dependent on a man, is because of a weak sense of self. In order to protect yourselves, my dear young sisters, from the game of these brothers, is to have a profound sense of self. Realize who you are and realize what you want. And what that means, you don't need a young brother to wrong you in that way in order for you to be happy. If you're patient, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the best. You don't want to lose this guy? All he's going to do is going to harm you. So that's what we got to come down to. Islam lays down these restrictions to protect us. To protect us from these type of things. And that's what we got to remember. Allah is the one who created me. He knows everything about me. I submit myself to His will. Why? Because I know that I'm weak, I'm short-sighted, and I'm ignorant. But Allah is the all-wise, the all-powerful, and He knows what is best for me. So when Islam lays down these principles of interacting with one another, the principles of expressing love, it is to protect us, to ennobilize, or to make our character within us noble and profound and deep, and so that we can attain felicity, happiness in this life and the next. Inshallah, hopefully we'll have more time to talk after Salah, and our Iman, Shaykh Abdullah Yusuf Madoon, inshallah, provide us with some more reminders, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. I'll pass it on to our young moderator. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Forgive if I offended any one of you. I apologize. It's a weakness of myself and the whispers of Shaytan. But if there's any benefit, inshallah, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So seek praise and glorification of Allah and draw near to Him. JazakAllahu Khair. Subhanallah.
Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar!
MashaAllah, great lecture. So now we're going to have a 30-minute break, inshallah. We'll be back at 6:45. And the